Welcome back. The Rajya Sabha has approved a proposal to make divorce friendly for women. It provides for the wife getting a share of the husband's immovable property after irretrievable breakdown of marriage. So the Marriage Laws Amendment Bill seeks to empower the courts to decide the compensation amount from the husband's inherited and inheritable property for the wife and the children once the marriage legally ends. And this has led to an intense debate. Should women have a right to the husband's ancestral property after divorce? Should the law be made gender neutral? Is this proposed law anti-men? Headlines to the National Bureau spoke to people across this country, and we get you this debate.
When relationships turn sour, when marriages turn violent, and when there is little option but to part ways. Is it the woman who is in more need of assistance, or is it more punishing for the man? The divorce bill is being touted as pro-women has triggered a heated debate with male rights groups raising their voice in protest. They claim that the bill is loaded in favor of women and expressing the fear that it could be misused like the anti-dowry law. After all, they ask, why empower women at the expense of men? Women counter citing the silent centuries-long suffering, a very valid counter-argument. Why so much noise over sharing property when there is practically no indignation over child's custody? For the government, it is indeed tricky to strike a balance between individual freedom and protecting a woman's rights. It is important to note that women's entitlement to a share in marital property is accepted globally.
Laws have to be egalitarian. They cannot be biased in favor of any one person or group of persons in a manner that makes a mockery of principle of equality.
This is going to be completely misused. This is completely unconstitutional and gender biased against men. This is, I would call it as a husband killer law. You will see a lot of misuse in coming years.
If and when there is party, it is definitely neither anti-men nor a tool in the hands of women to break marriages. It is only to ensure that the marriage is kept safe, and if in case it's going to be shattered, ensure that there is some safety net for the woman and child.
The women will get a good share in this ancestral property. I think it's a very good thing. It is the protection for it. It has been done for the protection of the women.
That bill also is incomplete because our members have raised it in the House saying that the bill should have a comprehensive nature of covering all religions.
Husbands' disproportionately high benefits are being showered on women, and demand to make the bill gender neutral, replacing words like husband and wife with spouse. Questions are also being raised about the provisions made in the bill for unemployed husbands. A valid point the men cite. Why shouldn't a woman who earns more than her husband support him?
I seriously fear what is going to happen to me, my parents and property, because the bill does not provide any safeguard against misuse of laws.
This law is actually anti-men, family breaking, anti-Muslim women, and it has nothing to do with the poor women of this country.
Nowhere in the world, this sort of bill is passed where only one gender, in this case the husband, is being penalized for tenure of marriage, even if it can be as less as 10 days.
So let's take you through the key points in the bill that are currently a subject of a raging debate. The first point, according to the new bill, a wife is entitled to half of the marital property. Men are quick to question why not vice versa. In case the wife is financially better off, the women of course are countering why not take into account what a woman puts into making the marriage work, and that sometimes also includes quitting work. The second point point is the value of the husband's inherited or inheritable property will be taken into consideration while deciding on alimony. Men, of course, cite NCRB data, 65,000 of them end up taking their lives. Women ask if all such cases of suicides are because of wives and not other factors that may be financial trouble. The third point, which is a bone of contention, the wife can plead grave financial hardship and oppose the divorce petition. Men obviously demand to know why there is no such provision for husbands. However, women ask if it is human to throw a helpless woman out onto the streets. Union Minister Kapil Sibal brings up the fourth point. He told the Rajya Sabha that women constitute 50%, half of the population, but own only 2% of the assets. Husbands want to know who will provide homes for over 80% of husbands who don't own houses of their own. Clearly, this is a debate that is only going to get more heated. However, there is a building chorus that the government needs to address, is a gaping hole in the bill, and that is reform in divorce laws concerning Muslim women.
Bureau Report, Headlines Today.
And there is already an intense debate that is on, is the women-friendly divorce bill anti-men? Ranjana Kumari, social activist, joins me on the show. Also with me, senior advocate and women's rights activist Pinky Anand. Kumar Jagirdar, he is president of what many call is the Harassed Husbands Association. He joins us from Bangalore. Kumar Jagirdar, you saw the bill before Rajya Sabha cleared it. Why is this new divorce bill anti-men in your opinion?
This is totally anti-husband because it is more wife-centric, not woman-centric. There is absolutely no protection for the children, and they are trying to impress the young women, the wives, more than anything else. It's all vote bank politics today. Why protection only for Hindu women? Why not other religions? And also the gender neutral, is the spirit of our constitution. There is no equality at all. There are so many husbands who come to us day in, day out and crying about their position. It is the wives who are misusing the laws, including the Domestic Violence or the Dowry Act, and this is another weapon to them. And this is not going to be any smooth settlement because the crime rates will increase. And this
is there no merit? Is there no merit when the government says half the population, hear me out, half the population of this country, the population, half of them are women, but only 2% own property. So why should you have problems if a woman has spent time with her husband, if a wife has spent some time with her husband and they've built a home together? Why should she lose that property? Why can't she get half the property?
See, there are so many other ways of getting the equality among men and women. They now they are entitled for a share in the the home she was born. I know that instead of doing such things, you are encouraging divorce, which is the last thing anybody in Indian or Hindu society will think of. And why should we encourage divorces to grab the opportunity to make more money out of assets of the husband and his ancestor properties, which is not at all, good for the society in the long run. And this is that
she's given her life for you. She's left her parental home for you. Ranjana Kumari, is there merit in the contention that this bill is flawed? It does not specify how long should the wife have been married to the husband before she is entitled to not just the husband's property but also the ancestral property.
Yes.
Well, I think Gaurav, a little bit misplaced this debate is because unnecessary caution is being raised by men, and they think that women are their enemy. It's not that, women are their love, they are their wife, they are their, mother of their children, and also they are the daughter-in-law. Their children will carry the family's name forward. So how all of a sudden when she is supposed to get the property, she becomes an enemy? Because
all of this comes when that love is gone, ma'am. All of this debate is there only because the husband and the wife have decided that the differences are irretrievable. They are going their separate ways. Men like Kumar Jagirdar ask, why should the woman have access to the ancestral property? What role did she have to play in getting the property together? It's perhaps the parents and the grandparents who toiled hard for it. Why should she get anything from it?
Gaurav, I'm coming to that. Most important thing is that in the eventuality when this love is lost, she becomes the enemy and she must not get anything and should be driven away from the house from whom you have even extracted from her family the dowry. You are not, the family doesn't give her any right to property. She doesn't get any right in the family's home. She has no right. She has no property. So marital property has to come to her. Otherwise, how should she survive herself and also her children? We are talking about the majority of Indian women. We are talking about 99.9% Indian women. We are not talking about 0.1% Indian women who may own some property, who may have some kind of a business. But let me you are spreading misinformation. You are spreading misinformation. Please understand that marital right to property to a woman is given globally in every country. So will India have to give. This started from the time of Sita
We've been speaking to stakeholders. You see how charged Kumar Jagirdar is, and several men we spoke to through the past 2 days. Men feel that this bill is anti-husband. Some of them say that the woman had no role to play in the ancestral property coming up. Parents, grandparents, they may have spent their lives earnings putting together that property. The lady may be married to the man for 24 hours, 24 days, 24 months with no role in putting together that ancestral property. Why should she walk out with 50% of the property?
This is misinformation.
Gaurav,
No, that's not what the law
my
says.
basic view, I'll tell you, is this. Talking about the bill being anti-men or pro-men or pro-women, I think first of all the bill itself is anti-society. I don't know why in the garb of saying it is pro-women in the context of, by the way, specifically speaking, irretrievable breakdown. What is this new charge atmosphere in this country that we are gearing ourselves towards divorce and claiming that that is woman-friendly? I have a lot of apprehensions on that score. I think the message that we are sending out is as if everybody should proceed towards a divorce, and in the garb of saying it's pro-women, we are trying to cover up the entire legislation.
God forbid.
However, having said that, to come to the other aspect of marital property and division of that, I think that is a perfectly equitable way. However, most countries do prescribe a certain minimum time limit so that there is an active contribution. The concept of distribution of property, marital property, if A has to be gender neutral, it has to stretch across board whether it is man or woman, and 2, definitely there has to be a certain minimum period of marriage before such an equitable distribution of property occurs, and 3, what bothers me in this entire concept, what is wrong with this bill is that it contemplates the division of property post-divorce. That is to say that first a man, normally, by the way, even now, most men are the one who seek the divorce before a woman does. The divorce will happen. The distribution of property will be a protracted situation where a woman would find it difficult to cope for. So should we have this concept of equitable distribution of property, marital property, post the divorce, so that you've got the divorce, everybody goes, the man goes on his own way, the woman with the child without a home, without any asset, is still waiting for adjudication on that, which may take several years. So I think we really need to think about this, and we don't seem to concentrate on other issues of women, and we are talking about a pro-divorce law, that too only confined to Hindu women.
And Kumar Jagirdar, is that what you're fighting for? That perhaps the government needs to decide how long should a couple have been married, how many children do they have together before this property distribution takes place? Because a lot of women raised a very valid point. Men are more interested in division of property, they're least interested in where the children will go. Kumar Jagirdar.
Yes.
No, it is not at all correct. Today's fathers are as much caring and loving for the children that the mothers are. So this law is promoting single parenting, because there is a presumption that the children will stay with the mother, and how can they come to conclusion they are bad mothers also? So there somebody may be forced to give the property, is forced to give the children, is forced to give the car, is forced to give the house. That's where the suicide rates are going up. I anticipate the suicide rate will go up 10 times more than what is going on now. So we are also human beings. Men are also part of the same system, family system. What about the men?
So you are saying the law should be made gender neutral. Look at the ground realities, because you don't have to share
property, you become less of a human or what?
What is about the woman rights than the child rights?
Yes, Ranjana Kumari, you're making a fair point. You're making a fair point there. Women more interested, men more interested in the property, not so much in the welfare of their ex-wives and the children. They should get perhaps whatever comforts they were used to when they were together. Ranjana Kumari.
Yes, I think also if there is a flaw in the law, I think the law is flawed in terms of letting the court decide everything. That would mean that women has to again go from pillar to post to get her rightful share in the property. So I think that's where the flaw is. Flaw is not in giving equal property share to women and men. You know, women also contribute in terms
Yes.
what men is making. But general understanding is she's a housewife, she does nothing, she's not contributing. Of course she is contributing to making of what you make or what together they make. So I don't think these kind of ideas
what the law also needs to discuss is how long have they spent together. Is there merit, Kumar Jagirdar, in what Najma Heptullah said in Parliament, that there are 10 crore Muslim women in this country. This bill doesn't even look at their plight. Why should this not look at their plight, Kumar Jagirdar?
Giving the description to
Gaurav, that's another flaw in the law, that it is not covering all women of India. It should give coverage to all women of India.
Kumar Jagirdar, quickly, 30 seconds your response. Kumar Jagirdar, why are Muslim women being kept out of this? Why is it that that point is not being raised?
Yeah, in fact, the entire this thing is, the issue is only the divorce is the only way you can get the properties. So the idea these people are teaching is that you ask for a divorce, leave the husband, take the children and take the properties and remarry and 2-3 times and make good money out of this. It is what we are encouraging. This is not at all good for our society. I don't know why this, even the BJP is keeping quiet for this. We expect a lot from BJP. In fact, BJP has, let us down very badly. We are talk about Indian family values and nothing has happened. In fact, they are in the speeches they get good speeches. When it comes to voting, everybody is
flawed because you think one encourages divorce in your opinion, and two, as Najma Heptullah said, it does not look at 10 crore Muslim women, their plight at all.
No, you are right, Gaurav. It's not only Najmaji's statement regarding Muslim women. I think we've come to a point where we need to look at one common law for all Indians. Why are we discriminating between different women as if the religion puts them on a different kind of basis? I don't think that kind of world can really carry on. And as far as the division of property is concerned, what I told you, what concerns me is in this country in particular is, contrary to what happens in the Western countries where there may be more financial independence, why is the question of division being left to post-divorce? That means today a divorce will happen and the issue of marital property division will happen only when the court intervenes. Of course, whatever the court decides, that of course has to be left to court. I don't say that it has to be a defined percentage, but it is left to the court. That means another trial procedure and the divorce happens so that you ultimately are left without any resources at your command in terms of property. Of course, maintenance would be there, but not any assets. So I think there is too many flaws in this entire situation, and this knee-jerk response of saying it is pro-women, I think it is pro-nobody. It is anti-society. In fact,
why that men have, Ranjana Kumari, last round to you in 30 seconds.
We are saying everybody
in the West,
no.
Yes, in the West we see a lot of prenups. Now, do you think a lot of prenups will now start happening in India? Men are so scared before they get married. They probably want a cast iron case before they even decide to, take the Satvayas together. Ranjana Kumari.
Stops, I can say something I have to say. Yeah, I think it's very important to understand that women need to get this right. It is their legitimate right to get property. Marital property has to be given to women. This cannot go on like this. And secondly, I think in the name of meher, Muslim women are all the time, cheated. They are always, not given the equal the right to property. After marriage, supposed to be meher is supposed to be returned, and meher normally is, at the night of the marriage is always pardoned by the women because man will ask for that pardon. So in that sense also they don't get anything. That's a reality. So I think it should cover all women of India. I think every women in this country do not own any property. Women do not have any property. They don't own any property. Nobody wants to give them any property.
Absolutely, women should own property. That is something that should start. I've run out of time on this debate. Pinky Anand, Ranjana Kumari and Kumar Jagirdar, for the moment, many thanks for joining me on this show. Before we move on in this bulletin, so sorry, the BJP thinks Narendra Modi is their best bet for the Prime Minister's post. The Gujarat Chief Minister is also readying to spread his wings beyond the state that he's ruled for more than a decade. But will Narendra Modi's dream of becoming Prime Minister of India come true? Don't miss a very popular satire series on the news that affects you. Here's us saying so sorry.